ginagawa nila dyan? Anong meron sa Dubai? Kasi di ba may,
Filipino creatives are one of a kind.
Ilabas nila yung sarili nila. Kumbaga, put yourself out.
Yung purpose ko is kung ano yung epekto niya sa mga taong nakakapanood ng show.
So, ang kaya kong gawin, ito ang dapat kong matanggap.
Welcome back to Ana Filipino Creative. Today's guest is one of the most recognizable voices in the Filipino community here in the UAE. He started as a correspondent in Emirates Love PH, and now he's telling our stories full-time through Keith Lessons and Kwentong Pilipino.kp. He asked all of us questions, but today we get to ask him the questions. Please welcome Keith Pereña.
Woo! Hi mo. Hello, how do you do?
Hi, Keith.
Yes, hi.
So, creativity has many forms and hindi masyadong sikat ang pagiging writer. Because, especially for Filipinos dito sa UAE, it's usually visual artists, photographers, videographers. So today, let's shine a light on your journey, Naxle.
Yes.
Alright, tell us about your two accounts.
Okay, so si Kids Lessons, it's marami siyang iterations before it became Kids Lessons. So it first started as another personal account, and then it became a musician account. Because I moonlit as a musician before, and then I needed a portfolio to sell myself, to be able to perform in music festivals and all that. So that was my portfolio. When those dried out, parang nasa limbo siya. So it became a pseudo personal profile. Kasi I had another Instagram handle that was strictly mobile photography, and that one was just, oh hey, I'm Keith. Na parang this was at the time na Instagram was mainly a photo format. Tapos yung mga shots nun, it's mostly symmetrical kasi I had a solid face where I was so madly obsessed with Wes Anderson. So I figured, why not take every single photo like that? And then that stopped in 2017. So yeah, so yung Kids Lessons today is the evolution. Ang dami niyang hats. And now, so Kids Lessons was, I had this idea while I was in my final year sa Emirates Loves of I saw these Filipino-American creators in the US like si Adrian Per and si Mylene's Mind. Those are my two key inspirations na they were doing these storytelling videos na ang gaganda ng captions na, and it's just giving you amazing advice. Another person in that si Adrian, si Mylene, and si Chloe Shi, 30 Lessons by 30. So naisip ko, bakit walang gumagawa nito dito? So I figured, okay, why not do it? I'll do it myself. I'll talk about my life. Tapos let's just call it Kids Lesson. Kasi and when I first started, yun yung mga quotes that got me through life. I realized na parang this is the fulfillment of a dream that I had when I came to Dubai like 2013, and that was a time when blogging was still very much the in thing to do, na magsulat. So I figured, may concept ako dati na online diary. So now, I'm literally doing it but in video form.
IG format.
Yun, IG format. And then yan. So right now, it's an hiatus kasi now all my efforts are in Kwentong Pilipino. And so Kwentong Pilipino is pretty much a continuation of what I did with Emirates Love Philippines na yung mga straight interview lang. And I figured kasi, like I told you earlier, na I did different versions of social media, how to do street interviews. I street interviewed the car enthusiast, and when my daughter was born, hindi ko na natuloy kasi hindi na ako nakalabas. And then I also did videos wherein I assemble Hot Wheels cars, nagpe-paint ako nun, and then that also fizzled out because nawalan ako ng resources. And all those branches are just my way of trying to prove to myself na I can make something that's different from Emirates Loves, na different from asking people how much do they pay for rent, how much are their salaries, etc. I think at some point in that experimentation era, I realized na why am I avoiding my own creation? Why do I not take ownership of it? Is it because ginawa ko siya for Emirates Loves? So I figured, you know what? Let's go balls to the wall. Let me take ownership of what I made. That was literally Kwentong Pilipino. So how did I come up with that name? I was driving, and then I kept repeating my own name twice. Kwentong Pilipino, Kwentong Pilipino. Ang stage name ko dati sa music is KP, which is after my initials. And then I realized, ano pa bang mga ibang phrases na nagsimula sa KP? I'm like, Kwentong Pinoy, Kwentong Pilipino. Eureka moment. And then I literally shouted at my mom, Kwentong Pilipino natin pa. And then she's like, oh nga, So yeah, it started with that.
It's good that you mentioned that Emirates Love PH back then, it was your own formula. And it became parang naging prototype na siya ng lahat ng
Yeah. So kasi okay, insider info. So Emirates loves babies. I joined like 4 years ago. I was one of the pioneers. Ang original na format nila is yung Nas Daily style videos. Yung this Filipino is A B C D E F G. This Filipino is blank. This Filipino is that. 3-minute videos. Tapos I joined at a time na nasa crossroads yung social media. Like, do we still keep doing yung mga longer style videos na katulad nung kay Nas Day? Or do we hop in onto this trend na sa TikTok na very fast-paced, very raw editing?
side.
Ang nangyari nun, and I always share this anecdote, was nag-lunch break ako. And then I had my phone, kumakain ako, and then I was browsing on TikTok, and you see this guy, Daniel Mac. See, what do you do for a living? He approaches people in cars, what do you do for a living? I realized, teka lang, if ako na kumakain ngayon, bored to death sa lunch break, pinapanood ko siya, there are other people who are in the same situation like me, who are browsing their phones and kumakain lang. I realized I need to be who they are watching. Kinuha ko yung formula ni Daniel Mac, and naisip ko, okay, how do I elevate this? How do I do it as Emirates Slums? And the thing that stuck out was, nagtatanong siya ng what they do for a living. After that, the follow-up is what life advice. So I figured, you know what, let's change that and let's add a UAE angle. Kasi it's Emirates Slums. So I started with Went videos. Those first 3 videos, lahat yung mga kaibigan ko. And then naisip ko, all of us are not here in UAE by choice. Ay, lahat tayo nandito by choice. Ginusto natin. So there has to be a reason why you're here. So that was the final question. That was the outro. Ano yung gusto mo sa buhay dito? If you had your way, you'd be living in the Philippines.
Or somewhere else.
Yeah. So and then 3 videos exploded into God knows how many now. And I really love about that format is that it became self-sustaining. Na parang we get messages na, oh, please visit my flat in Abu Dhabi. Please visit my business in Alain. And then what happened was, ako at saka yung videographer ka that time, si Niyo, we ended up doing a 7 Emirates tour. Kasi I think it was also a point of sa akin na I needed to do it. I needed to show it na Filipinos in the Philippines only know about Dubai. So I needed to introduce them to the other Emirates. Na parang there are Filipinos in Fujairah, Filipinos in Alain, Filipinos in Umm Al Quwain, Iraq, Abu Dhabi. So at lahat sila, they are formed by their environments. Like a Filipino in Dubai will be different from a Filipino in Abu Dhabi, 100%. So ayun, I enjoyed that. Yun yung crowning achievement ko with Emirates Clubs.
Oo, ganda kasi pioneering doon. So you started and yung iba, hindi naman natin siyempre inspired na doon.
Yeah, and I'm glad to be an inspiration. Kasi naisip ko, I don't want to be just the guy na naka-invento na. I want to teach others na it doesn't end with me. The format has to be passed down. So I have no qualms na merong yung ma-inspire or to be blunt yung gumaya kasi that's the creative process nowadays.
With Kwentong Pilipino, how is it? Anong dinagdag mo or anong bagong innovation?
All right.
Kung tanong ba?
Yeah, good question. So with Kwentong Pilipino, kasi nga first month pa lang siya. So ito yung, now I have more liberty to tell stories that I want. And then I had 2 baby step videos before Kwentong Pilipino ever did. Nasa kids lesson siya, medyo binaon ko. The first video was this Filipino and Emirati couple that for some reason the company did not want to showcase, to publish. And I felt like, wait lang, this is literally Emirates loves Philippines. So bakit hindi? That didn't sit right with me. So I figured, you know what, ako mag-video sa kanila. The video that I did got 1 million views and then shared by Loving Dubai. And I'm like, what? Tapos, the real kicker is that nung kinasal sila 6 months later, yung manager ko sa Emirates Love said like, Keith, gusto mo i-feature to? I'm like, no. I mean, we had our chance. Kasi, and I think that's where yung journalism aspect came in. Na parang, if hindi ikaw yung una, don't even bother. Unless you introduce something new to the table, like a different, refreshing angle, then nobody's gonna bother. The second video was, I'm not sure if you've heard, there was this grand matanda na he was stuck here in the UAE for 30 odd years kasi because of some blood money case. Obviously, the company that didn't touch it because of pending court case, and all that. And again, journalism instincts kicked in. Napunta ako sa Sharjah. They lived in a kinda flat. The reason I did it is because, you know how media works, na parang, if your story is not in the cycle, mabagal eh, walang kikilos. And I felt bad. The guy is 60, tas may stroke pa siya. Tas gusto na lang niyang umuwi. Siguro na-realize ko na, ito ko makatulong na makauwi siya. I made a video about him, 2 videos. One was just making sure that to keep his story alive in the cycle. That was like a 200k. To gain attention. Kasi ano eh, nag-die down na yung initial na media buzz na Khalid Times even interviewing Gulf News. Tapos 3 months later, kinamusta ko siya. And apparently parang bagal yung process. So process. So I figured, you know what? Let's make another video. Let's revitalize this. So that video got roughly 100k views. A week later, nakauwi na siya. So we made a video. And you know, yung ngiti ni Lolo na kahit ano, kulang-kulang na yung ipin niya, but yung ngiti niya na sobrang saya niya na finally makakauwi na siya after that trial.
And that's under your account.
Oh, that's under my account.
That's what
Ano yun?
social media.
Oo, yun parang hindi ma-replace yun eh. No amount of views or likes or engagement. Diba yun just to be there, just to be the person behind the camera documenting all this?
Yeah, telling the story.
Oh.
So, with the Kwentong Filipino, ano ang direction niya ngayon?
So, Kwentong Filipino is pretty much, ano siya, I throw
Lighter?
spaghetti shotgun. And you throw things to the wall, see what sticks. So right now, yung mga rent videos, nag-work siya because that has and still is my the format that I started. But now I'm introducing this show called Pakilala, which is basically I was watching this guy called Takashi from Japan. So he's doing this in Japan. Na all he's doing is he's interviewing different half Japanese, half something people. And I figured, wait lang, Filipinos look for this kind of thing. Diba? I mean, look at our celebrities. Most of them are half-half. So I figured, teka lang, marami dito mga half Filipino, half something else. Let me give them a spotlight na hindi lang, alam mo yun, parang they deserve more than a magkano upa mo, anong trabaho mo. They deserve a chance na mapakita yung dual heritage nila. So that's what I did. Like, and the shoot only takes what, 15 minutes?
That's nice. And feeling ko medyo mas invisible yung mga dual.
Oh, yeah. And I wanted to bring them. Kasi
The forefront.
Oo.
Kasi iba rin yung pinagdadaanan nila.
Oo.
I feel like, well, I've spoken to some, they're neither, both. Yeah.
Oo.
So, Emirates look at them as non-Emirat, hindi pure, di ba?
Yeah.
And the Filipinos, hindi naman yan full
Yeah.
Filipino.
And it really, ang gusto ko din mapakita dun is na parang these kids or adults they're raised differently. Like for example, let's say one Filipino Arab might speak both languages. Another person may not. And it all boils down to how they were raised. So yun yung gusto ko ding mapakita.
And some are there, the heritage.
Some are there.
Mix.
I mean, the last person I interviewed, like Filipino Lebanese, like she speaks, ganito lang sa Tagalog, parang tayo. And then the second format that I'm doing now is, which I've only done one video, is yung Sumaksis, which is, I got it from School of Hard Knocks. Lalapit siya, how old were you when you became a millionaire? So it's more businessy. And I did that because I wanted to give CEOs and entrepreneurs a spotlight here. And there are a bunch of them here in Dubai.
Correct.
And this is the devious part of that, is that when I asked how old were you when you became a millionaire, the millionaire highly subject na. It can be in pesos, it can be in dirhams, and it also protects their privacy. What matters is yun yung hook, and then it's their story. Paano sila nakabating sa point na yun, and what advice can they give sa younger generation who wants to reach that point level of success? So now, Kwentong Filipinos at that juncture wherein I have yung baseline. And now I have the liberty, or I think I have the liberty na mag-experiment. Like may makita ko sa YouTube na another format of a street interview. Why not do that? And yung time ko na we were doing Nas Daily style videos, Emirates of Philippines, I can do that down the road. Because right now, Kwentong Filipinos is a two-man team. Literally, yung kapatid ko sa Pilipinas nag-edit, ako nag-ideate, nag-script, nag-shoot, I find the people, I drive to the people. So right now, yeah man, parang I'm playing it. I also don't want to be too safe, so that's why I try to branch out with the different street interview formats.
Pero balik muna tayo.
Please.
Kung kailan ka na dumating dito sa Dubai. How long have you been?
2013, graduate akong literature sa UST. And then after that, my parents
How
gave
old were you then?
19. So my parents gave me 1 week. 1 week to get my affairs in order, magpa-despedida and all that. Yun yung graduation gift nila. And then pagdating ko dito, I was sleeping on their sofa bed. Tapos naghahanap akong trabaho. My first job, I was an intern for a PR company called Avia Reps. And I did a terrible job at it. And
It was your first.
yeah, it was my first job. I was wearing a suit that was 3 times larger than me because of my dad's suit, and I didn't have one. So wala pa akong sense of style nun. Anyway, TLDR. So after 1 month of that, I got my first proper job in an advertising company called. And apparently nabamboozle ako kasi hindi siya advertising. We were selling corporate gifts. So when I tell everyone that I sold ball pens for a living, that's what we were doing. Kasi yung fastest moving item namin for corporate branding is ball pen. For example, like that you're wearing, New York Yankees. Say the Yankees wanted a pen with their branding on it, that's what we do. Tapos ang ginagawa namin, we rip off yung mga stock images from Amazon, upload namin sa website namin, and then our supply guy had to look for that similar looking ball pen sa may Dera or Shindaga.
As a 19-year-old na nasaba ka kaagad sa ganong trabaho, and of course as a literature graduate, feeling ko hindi naman yun yung pangarap mo.
It was an affront to everything that I studied. It was an affront. I hated every single day of that job.
Ano ba munang when you were studying literature, ano bang plano mo sa buhay?
I wanted to teach. Gusto ko magtulong sa public school sa Pinas. But of course, parents being parents, they want what's best for you. So that's why you're in Dubai.
So, yun. And then after that, paano ka nakaalis doon? And what's
Yeah. Oh, sa first job ko, I got fired. And I got fired kasi nagpa-Facebook ako. And the irony is nagpa-Facebook ako ngayon. I have to post content now, which is on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok.
Bilanap ka talaga ng
Ayun.
mo.
Ayun. So I got fired and then I moved to a sports magazine na nasa Albarca. It was outdoor sports. So I think that was the first baby step towards who I wanted to be. Na nagsusulat ako and I was interviewing people, and I think I interviewed someone who was an Olympic gold medalist, like a British lady for sailing. So I stayed there for a year, and then after that, one of the friends that I met, one of my friends sa office doon referred me to College Times. To Mr. Angel Tosoevo, yung reporter nila doon. And then that's how I got into College Times. And then I spent roughly 2.5 years of my life sa college.
So, you're doing features. You read features.
Sa College Times, I was a web journalist. So, online journalism junior ako. Kasi yung editorial office it's an open space. So, if you wanted to contribute to a different column, different section, you by all means. So, dun ako I wrote so many weekend columns about random topics. It could be Captain America, Fast and the Furious, the Beatles, some guitar company. And even nung nag-travel ako, when I started solo traveling, when I went to Chernobyl in 2017, I approached my yung feature said, I told her, galing ako Chernobyl, gusto mo ba ng column? And he said yes.
Anong feeling nung magsulat dito? Because parang, yun nga, as mentioned, for our Filipino writer, journalist, or even a creative writer, hindi Dubai ang unang iniisip nila para magtrabaho, para magsulat. Na, were you, mag-isa ka lang bang Pilipino doon? May iba bang Pilipino?
There are. I mean, there was one guy named Alvin Cabral sa tech siya. Every single year nasa San Francisco siya for Apple.
How is it to be a writer dun sa ganyang environment?
You have to realize that there are only a handful of you. And also, you have to realize that your edge is in the fact that Filipinos, and for lack of better term, better mastery of the English language compared to others. So, magaling tayong sa mga nakilala ko, magaling tayong mag-craft ng story. Like, even as of today, we're talking, Angel Tesoelo is still hustling and being a world-class reporter. So, yun yung edge natin as Filipinos.
May difference ba yan sa storytelling nila dito sa the way we would, craft or tell stories sa Pilipinas? Because I think right here may mga cultural nuances and your readers it's really a mix of nationalities. So iba-iba ang
So dito is more Western, if I may say so. Ganun. And it's very close. It's closer to what we call in the field as wire service. So you have your Reuters, your AP, or AFP. So mga news
mas parang general.
mas parang general because you know that you're writing for a larger audience. But also, what ang isa ko pang natutunan din sa college is that it's also community-based. Like for example, you can't just say, nung nag-announce in Dubai ng new rules about bicycles, we didn't just report about it. We went out of our way and naghanap kami ng mga people who are affected by it or responding to it because that adds meat to the story. That gives voice. I mean, that gives substance to a policy ba?
Hindi ba mas I don't mean to be political. I'm not asking for a political answer. Pero there's like a difference or a notion na ang UAE is not as democratic. Of course, it's not democratic country. So parang media-wise, writing-wise, may mga iniingatan kang independence. Yeah.
Of course, of course.
Have you encountered? May ganun ka bang mga challenge?
Oh yeah, that was my biggest mistake. Muntik na ma-fired doon sa mistake na yun. So I wrote a web story wherein I used the words Persian Gulf. No later than 5 minutes after I published that, tinawag ako ng editor-in-chief. And then he told me that we don't ever use Persian Gulf. We use Arabian Gulf. Kasi Persian is Iran. But of course, the conversation was louder and more derogatory. Pero yun yung ano, yeah, there are certain languages and then for example, yung mga titles, they're very specific about that. Yes, for the royals. Meron sa lahat ng desk namin, we had this piece of A4. Nakalagay doon yung each and every member of the royal family, tas yung the specific way to write them. So regardless of kung wala akong pake kung one sentence yung report mo, you will spell out that entire title.
Oh. So hindi mahirap ba for a Filipino to write here? Because
I mean, if you're coming from a Philippines journalism background, yes. Pero that could be, you could see it as a blessing kasi mas toned down dito. Or you could see it as a boon na parang, hindi ako masyadong mas malaya, so to speak. It depends on your perspective.
how about getting employed or looking for a job as a writer? Mas
Getting employed and looking as a job as a writer, mas madami sa advertising. Although it really bothers me kasi wala masyadong Filipino nasa journalism. Like I said, like in our sa College Times newsroom, there were only 3 of us.
yun nga kasi may impression nga na filtered.
Ah.
Say filtered ang press dito.
Right.
May katotohanan ba yun or
Not really. I mean, yeah, we just select, naman how would you say it? Yung news cycle dito, it's not as bombastic ba, ganun, hindi yung ma-expose, which is, I mean, that's a
hindi
good,
naman political.
oo, yun nga. I mean, it's a good thing here in UAE kasi, I mean, sa Pilipinas, like, we have to worry about a billion different things. Dito, we just work, we hustle, we get paid, we carry on.
You graduated, you took up literature.
Yes.
Why?
Why? Because it was a bet between my mom and my dad. So, ang story of that is when I applied for USTET, ang nagpromise ako sa parents ko na yung first choice, it will be their course. That was engineering. Second choice would be my choice, literature. And long story short, di ako nakapasa sa college sa engineering, bobo ako sa math, unfortunately.
Hindi daw kailangan na.
But I passed in literature with flying colors. And the very first thing that my parents told me was, ano yung trabaho mo? I mean, the classic Filipino parent response. Ano yung trabaho mo after? So, parang ako, yung teenage me was like, tulo. But I didn't expect my career to be where it is right now.
Niyo, syempre, wala mga, I mean, may social media ng panahon nyo, pero hindi pa siya as big as for us.
But for me, I chose that because when I was growing up, I really loved the read. So yung isa sa mga ninang ko, she gave me these comics na comics, but it was based on classical literature. So it was called Classics Illustrated, and the very first 2 of them were Frankenstein at si Moby Dick. And it was comics, so ang easy niya ma-digest.
Kasi may visual.
Tapos nung nag-high school ako, that was also an episode of The Old Country sa Kids Lessons na parang my professor gave me this book na A Farewell to Arms by Hemingway. And until now, I still have that book kasi hindi niya natandaan na kunin sa akin. And I cherish that. So all those life events just naturally led me to literature. Nahilig akong magbasa.
When you were here, again, back to here, as a writer, sa Pilipinas kasi, well, I have friends who are literature graduates, who are writers, part of the academe, journalists, and they have their own circles, communities, nothing, and workshops every time. Yeah, so nade-develop na hasa. Dito ba may ganon or na-expose ka?
Yeah, dito meron. It's one of the, well, hindi naman siya workshop in the strictest sense of the word, but there are communities. And one of them is, that's how I met one of my friends, si Danabel Gutierrez, who I would heartily recommend here. Yeah.
Connect.
She's the first Filipino poetess here in Dubai. So yeah, nakilala ko siya, and then yun yung beauty dito sa Dubai is that it's not just a Filipino creative community, it's a diverse creative community. Like for example, the place where I met Danabel is also It has Indians, Pakistanis, Westerners of every different location. And yun yung beauty kasi you get introduced to different worldviews and different art poetic styles or writing styles.
Ikaw, anong na-observe mo? Anong na-notice mo? How does the international community see the world?
Nice question. So, lahat tayo were formed by our, nationalities, our backgrounds. Oh, yeah. Okay, ang connecting thread natin lahat dito is that when I was part of the slam poetry community, most of the works are molded by the fact of shared expat experiences. So, being here or being born and raised here, and the identity crisis that ensues in that, yun yung nakita ko na talagang nagko-connect sa lahat. It was all about relationships, like and it speaks to the transitional nature of the Bible. That makes sense.
Transient.
Transient. There we go.
Moving.
Yeah.
Every day.
Like your best friend today might be in London tomorrow. It's finite. Yeah.
So, communities, may alam ka ba Filipino writing community?
Not really. I mean, I only know the one person. And that the one person connected me to various different Filipino creatives. Like, for example, Charlie 119, who's like this all sibling Filipino band. So my assessment is that, in my very limited knowledge, is that most of the Filipinos here are, like you said, in visual arts, photography, videography, and music. There's like this huge underground of Filipino musicians.
Yeah. I heard about the
Oo.
mga metal rock.
No, not just metal, like all genres.
May mga electro pa rin.
Yes.
Okay, yun nga. Paano ka mag-improve kung gusto mong mag-improve as a writer here, as a Filipino? I mean, sa Pinas kasi we have the books, the ganito, ganyan. The great Filipino poets, blah, blah, blah. Dito, ano ang version naman dito?
So,
Kapupunta.
dito, unfortunately, you have to assimilate. You have to leverage the fact na nasa UAE ka, and that you have this wealth of diversity. So you draw inspiration from Emiratis, you draw inspiration from Arabs, you draw inspiration from the British, you draw inspiration from everyone, and let that form your worldview. Kasi you draw inspiration from being a Dubai expat. Like, no Filipino in the Philippines will understand being crammed in the Dubai metro. Only a Dubai expat would do that. So that's how you grow, with yung shared experiences mo dito.
Paano natin malalaman yung mga story na yan? Halimbawa, kami na hindi nagsusulat. Saan namin makikita yung mga kwentong yan?
From these writers, so there's one community called Tribes. So yun. Oh yeah. There's one community in Tribes that I would gladly endorse, na because they're pretty much the spearhead. They're pretty much the hub of all the Filipino creatives here. And it's spearheaded by, I think, one of the key people sa Emirates Fest. Yeah. Sabihan si Christian De La Paz. So yeah, that's one Filipino community that could, if you want to maintain your Filipino-ness, then that's the way to go. Because for me, I went the opposite way, but with respect to my Filipino-ness. Na parang I went to a different way, na parang let me learn what I can learn from the others first, and then go back and then use that.
Bring it to the tribe. Kasi maraming na-stuck sa tribe. Hindi
Exactly. So, parang nag-branch out muna ako and then bumalik ako. Kasi you have to, ako yung kind of person that, I think it was Asimov who said that there's a lifetime of learning. So, why not explore everything? So, yun yung ginawa ko.
Struggles? Other than that?
Struggles. Wait, I lost my job countless times. I mean, I lost my job last month. So, I mean, nothing out of the. Na-scam kami, but then that's more financial rather than creative.
Okay. So from writing to sa college, tama?
Yeah, college times.
Paano pumasok ka content creation? Paano mo naisip na pumunta sa Emirates Love page?
Hindi ko siya namalayan kasi I resigned from Emirates Loves that was the smartest decision I ever made, March of 2020. Kasi I had a magazine job waiting for me in Abu Dhabi. Problem was, as soon as I moved out, nag-lockdown, I was stuck in Abu Dhabi for 2 weeks. Hindi nag-materialize yung job. Went back to Dubai, slept on my parents' couch for 6 whole months. And then one of my ex-colleagues sa KT told me that naghanap ka ba ng trabaho because ARN, the radio station, is looking for someone. So ako, wala akong alam. I thought I was gonna be a radio DJ. Tapos parang when I got interviewed, ayun, they put me in the digital team, and that's how my social media journey started. With just out of necessity.
At saka smooth, well, accidental.
Accident, yeah. So yeah, I did social media for Tag 91.1 for about 9 or so months. So yun yung that job kept me busy during most of COVID. And then I applied for Emirates Loves kasi nakita ko they were looking for a script writer. And then parang in my mind, ARN was this temporary thing. Like I didn't see myself there entirely. And how would I see myself there when kasi nga this was a time of layoffs, diba? COVID. There were only 2 of us in an entire office room.
So, from our being a writer, usually background, actually BTS, now naging correspondent ka.
With Emirates Loves, yeah.
And then in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how was that time? So,
Oh yeah. So that was because for the first year and a half of Emirates Love, so I was working with an incredible boss, Josie Conlu. So she's the queen mother of the Filipino community here, you know. And every song tandem namin is I write the scripts, she shows up. Every time na magshoot, nandun I was directing yung videographer because I had a specific vision for some of the shots. So, because of that exposure, na-realize ko na, wait a minute, if kaya ng boss ko, kaya ko din. And so we tried the first video. I hated myself in that video. Ayoko makita yung video. It was about the Filipino-American designer of Porsche. And even Nas Daily, who was still a creative consultant with Emirates Loves back then, he hated me. He hated the way I presented. Very robotic, very, ano pa ako, stiff. Tapos, I finally found my stride dun nga sa street interviews, like while having lunch. And I had to fight tooth and nail with the management to get that out. Kasi they were still of the mindset na parang an Emirates Loves video should be professional. Dapat may dala kang gimbal, may dala kang camera na professional. And I just responded back to them. Mag-freak out yung mga tao if I run up to them, dala ko yung Ronin, dala namin yung malaking camera, baka mapulis pa kami. So, cellphone lang.
yeah, logistically,
Yeah.
pero meron din kasing kapag nakikita.
Yeah, and it's a subconscious thing.
It's serious,
Yeah.
serious togeng.
Oo.
Phone,
We can get away with it.
and it's casual.
Oo.
Parang hindi masyadong, it's associated. Parang,
Tsaka sinabi ko nga, I told myself then that we are getting beaten hand over fist by kids with an iPhone. So what's stopping us from when do what the Romans do?
is your background in literature has something to do with that?
Yes, naniniwala ako dun. Kasi I think it's a mix of yung literary background ko in uni at saka yung journalistic background ko with College Times, and that when I pick a story, it has to be based on merit. So kasi there are when the street interviews became self-sustaining, every single person from every part of the world, not even just the UAE, wanted me to tell their story. Tapos parang there comes a point wherein you review all this and you have to weigh which one is worth telling. So, dun pumasok yung journalistic aspect. Ngayon, the literary aspect came from the fact that when I read these people's stories, when I get to interview them, I get to see the pattern and weave that pattern. And then, I learn how to craft yung kwento nila in such a way that they'd be proud. And that's actually yung ko. That's my guide, that's my North Star. Yun yung guiding light ko with that's my mantra with every single piece of content that I do. Is that when you tell me your story, I take on a loan. I take on debt. And the way I repay that debt to you is if I craft your story so damn good na magiging proud ka. And that has guided me throughout my entire creative journey. Lahat ng story tinatato ko na nangungutang ako.
Debunk on it so much na naging parang tabloid.
Ayun.
Ganun.
Sensational.
They sensationalize it, but the real story is to really not depende kasi sa purpose. And I think what you're trying to do is put the Filipinos in a best light.
Oo.
Yeah.
Like for example, like, kasi yun nga, Emirates Love started with the mindset of, started with the idea of, let's tell success stories of Filipinos. All well and good.
Ngayon, bibit-bitin mo na sa...
Kwentong Pilipino. I wanna think that I expanded the definition of what a success story is. Kasi before, a success story is someone who's a CEO, someone who runs a business. And in the Dubai context, that will fly, but very limited. Your scope is very limited. Ang success story dito is the fact that pumunta ka sa NAIA, nakalusot ka sa immigration, nakapunta ka dito. That is a success in and of itself. So that means, by that logic, every single Filipino who's here is a success story. I don't care if you're a CEO or you're a cleaner somewhere, you are a success. Sobrang gusto ko yung mga storyang from the lower end of the spectrum, for lack of better term. Kasi I find the most inspiration from them. Like the video, for example, the video I posted yesterday, she works as a cleaner. 3 na pag-graduate niya. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I think people come here for a different reason. And just to add dun sa success story, parang ang lungkot, no, na ang balsehan ng success natin is to leave our country para tumakas.
Oo. Ironic.
Di ba? And ayaw tayong paalisin.
Oo nga.
Higpit.
Parang doon pa lang tinatalo ko pa lang.
Oo, ang higpit. And they can't even provide opportunities, better opportunities. That's why we have to leave. Because bakit sa labas pa natin kailangang hanapin? And bakit ayaw nyo kaming pakawalan para hanapin sa labas?
Pero credit where credit is due. Like, the creative community in the Philippines is way more avant-garde than here. For them, it's also politics and art go hand in hand.
At saka may hugot.
May hugot, mas
At
matindi.
saka walang mga bawal-bawal.
Yeah.
I mean,
All bets are off in the Philippines.
ang pinaglalaban kasi natin doon, freedom of expression.
Exactly.
Mas personal, if not personal, political, or para sa bayan. Dito kasi
It's more celebratory. We're blessed in the UAE na okay yung life. Even whichever part of the social spectrum you go, life is still manageable. Makakahasal ka pa din. There is a way out. For example, with Kwentong Pilipino, I'm more focused on look at the bright side of things. Na parang regardless of if a person is living in Satwa or living in Palm Jumeirah, there is a bright side. There's a silver lining to every single life out there. Oh, mas hopeful, yeah. Mas hopeful, aspirational, and inspiring.
mas ganun, no? So,
Yes.
yung art natin sa Pilipinas, mas hindi naman papalungkutan, pero
May pangil. May pangil tayo.
what did you learn about Filipino sa Kwentong Pilipino?
Oh, I think I've been harping on about that earlier in that, success is very loosely defined in that that's the mindset I carry na any Filipino here is a success. Yun na the fact na nakalusot ka sa immigration natin, that accounts for something. And that no matter where you are in the world, not just in the UAE, there is a story worth telling. Na parang you can be a humble cleaner, you can be a successful CEO, and you have a testimony and you have a story of your life, of your experience. And Kwento Pilipino, my grand vision of it is not just stories in Dubai. The grand vision is stories kung nasan man ako magta-travel. Like for example, I'll be flying out in Japan in a couple of weeks. I want to see if there's a Filipino there. And yun yung hope ko. It's maybe that's the first step towards the grander vision. About to tell the story of every Filipino wherever they are.
Is content creation worth investing here in UAE?
Yes, kasi required siya. Kailangan natin ng permit, guys.
Pwede bang maging career ang content creation? Of course, people would say yes.
Of course.
Going to make this a career?
As cliche as it may sound, yes. Okay. Kasi but of course, ang nakikita ko, it's not just content creator. Meron akong na-discover the terminology called content CEO, which is what Mr. Beast is doing. Na parang, the source of income is not just the videos. The source of income is everything else that he surrounds himself with. Like, for example, he has chocolate bars, he has toys, he has everything. So, the income stream comes from that. So, and then naman, that's true for any other business that you have. Not just limited content to it. You have to diversify. So yun din naman yung plan ko. Like even kahit naman dati pa din when you look at yung mga earlier YouTubers, they've done the same thing. Like they sell merch. So yun yung easiest way to diversify. Ngayon, the challenge is, will the social media permit cover that? Kasi right now, the social media permit only covers yung brand deals and sponsorships. Which is yun yung para sa ating mga nandito sa UAE, that's the first step. Getting a brand deal, getting a collab with a small project. My first brand deal was only 500 dirhams. And I take pride in those 500 dirhams kasi it really proved I can make a living off this. Even,
Is your account earning na?
no.
Not yet.
Kasi wala akong alam kung paano. So,
Both,
yeah, Keith's lessons, I maintain it. In my mind, it's still a personal space. Na parang for me, this is where I tell stories whenever I want, na walang pressure. Whereas Kwentong Pilipino is more, ito yung business ko.
how do you think, paano ka makaka-earn?
I
Do you have that in mind lang? Or
Well,
wala mo?
that is the $1,000,000 question for me, pun intended. Na how do I make money off this? So parang ako, ang logic, ang pinaka naisip ko na immediate is yun nga, brand deals. Na parang, for example, may mga, kasi nga, with Kwento Pilipino, the rent videos, I also feature businesses. So that comes with a question of how much do you charge? When they ask, I tell them.
Okay. So may mga ganon.
Yes.
Okay.
So parang, but of course, yung I try to explain to them na parang this is a hindi siya when you pay you get full creative control. It's more of I show you at work and then we're gonna do that video our way. Ngayon, that doesn't mean that I will be very strict with the format. What I do instead is that if they have reservations with the way I ask questions, with the money question is always yung the elephant in the room always. I work with these brands and these guests na parang they're to have a better hook. Kasi if tapos na yung era natin na yung hook is more flowery and poetic. Naniniwala ko you have to go for the jugular, and for example, my jugular is yung pera. Kasi every single person when they hear something money related, they will watch.
Diretso sila doon.
Whether we like to admit it or not, Filipinos are innate chismosos and we live off the chismis. I ask how much kasi alam ko pag-uusapan siya. And then after that, makikita mo yung story na it's not the money thing. Kasi yun yung the early rent videos, the early creators who did it, it was a flex. Na parang, ito yung upa ko, dito ako nakatira, look at it. So I changed it na parang, ito yung upa ko, this is the reason why I live here, and ito yung achievement ko. Ito yung pinagdaanan ko. I did not start to live here when I was new here.
Mas may sense.
Because that's what Filipinos, we root for the underdog.
Yeah.
Always.
May napanood ako na when she was here, ang trabaho niya, that lady na
Yeah, yung garbage collector.
garbage collector, Mama Sigura.
Yes.
And then meron siya.
Exactly, yeah.
Mas inspired.
So yun. So we live for that kind of story. Kasi Filipinos are very passionate. And it's something that, it's not just Filipinos in Dubai, it's Filipinos all over the world. Filipinos culturally are a passionate people.
So people can really approach you to and ask na, oy, feature mo naman kami.
Of course. I never say no to a story. It's all merit-based.
Merit.
So parang i-weigh ko siya. Pero ayun, I never say no to a good story. That's one of the first things that I learned in journalism. You never say no to a story.
How much could a content creator earns?
Honestly, hindi ko din alam. But there are some who charge like what, north of 5,000? Ngayon, that's not just one video or one post. I'm gonna healthily assume that that's a package. But I don't have any empirical evidence. But yeah, it's north of 5,000 dirhams. And it depends on like the prestige of whatever brand you're collaborating with. Of course, like with the bigger brands come with the bigger budget, higher KPIs.
I think what's important sa is to really establish first the account, Kwento Pilipino. Kasi kailan ka nag-start dito?
A month ago.
A month.
I doubted myself every step of the way. Even though may track record na ako with Emirates Labs, I still doubted myself.
Kinikwento mo kanina kung paano ka gumawa ng video. Your process, your thought process. You were telling us about the hook, na ganyan. Paano to lahat?
I'll take it from step one. From research, I draw inspiration from everywhere. And by everywhere, I mean Facebook, YouTube, sa balita. I see all these bits of information. And doon na po pasok yung merit-based na parang, okay, alin dito yung magandang ikwento? Alin dito yung cliche? Alin dito yung hindi? Alin dito yung pwede kong i-take forward? And then from there, that's when I dig around, look around. Kakilala ba siya ng kakilala ko? Can he connect me? Yun yung shortcut. Better if, but if not, I will stalk you. And I have done that. Like I've literally scoured Facebook profiles just for a mobile number, LinkedIn profiles. When Emirates Labs was still doing the Nas Daily style videos, I took interviews at 11 in the evening just because the guest is in the US. And some of them reply, which is good, like cold calls. Some of them don't. Pero I take it all in stride. Even with Emirates Labs and with Kwentong Pilipino, when people say no, ako naniniwala ako dun sa three question rule, which I learned in Uste, na parang alokin mo sila 3 times. On the third time, pag hindi sila, step back. Find them, and then after that, interviewing ko sila. When it was still the Nas Daily Way, I do pre-interviews. Kasi for example, yung mga persons na interview ko, they're very niche. I love those kinds of stories na parang, yung mga underrated na hindi masyadong, not Manny Pacquiao, not someone na kilalang kilala. But I'm guilty also of telling those stories then. Anyway, so it's a mix and match. But yeah, yung mga taong underrated, yeah, I pre-interview them. I get to know their story first. And ano na ako, go with the flow. So what I always do, I prepare like at least 4 or 5 questions, but I tell them this clause na parang I will pick up on what you say and I will ask you to expound on it. Okay lang ba sa iyo yun? Once that's done, pre-interview, scripts all on me. I write the script, and then video goes into production. Titignan namin yung video ng team ko, and then once that's done, I post, may pag-away ako sa comments, and then that. But when the street interviews came in, it was more stripped down. Like in a day, ang standing record namin with Emirates Labs was 9 shoots in a day, just because of how stupidly fast you can shoot them. Tapos yung mga questions kasi straight for pare-pares lang with every single production. About how much they pay for event? Pakita, tour mo kami. Trabaho mo dito kasi of course, yung trabaho mo is connected sa kung paano mo ma-afford yung upa mo. And then after that, greatest achievement mo, what do you like about life here? Done. Next, move on.
Formulate mo na
yan.
into a science, no? Yeah, mabilis ang
I really enjoyed, na-miss ko din yung mga stock ng mga tao kasi there was this guy si Elmer Presa, his name. He was one of the Filipinos na part ng evacuation process in Afghanistan, when the Taliban took over. What happened? And he was, ang hirap niyang hanapin. I had to call up her daughter sa Pinas para sabihin, pwede niyo po i-connect dun sa tatay niya po. And then his dad was in DC, so na-evacuate siya, then I got the interview, so that's still a badge of self-vibe. kasi nahanap ko siya.
Diyan pumapasok yung journalist.
Oo, grabe, para akong bloodhound.
How do you handle rude comments?
Okay. Pwede skip question. Pero sige, papatulan ko yan. Okay, so before, 4 years back, papatulan ko siya. Like, I'm gonna give you an ass whooping if you really deserve it. Pero ngayon, after like, too many people have called me out on it. Bakit baka pwede mag-tone down ka? I just respond. I still respond in a snarky way, but not in a confrontational, derogatory, I'm putting you down way. Like, maybe a gif here and there, an emoji, ganun. Pag talagang ad hominem, then that's when all bets are off. But yeah, I try to treat them with grace. For example, yung video na ginawa ko sa Kwentong Pilipino, like, people could not believe that she was paying 1,500. Kasi ang akala nila, it's a 2-bedroom. It's not. It's just the room in the 2-bedroom. So ako, if that was past me, I would be going to town. Pero ngayon, I just clarify with grace na parang, yung room lang po yung binabayaran, ganun. Hindi po to negosyo, tatatatat. Alam mo yun, once I state my piece and I know what I said is true, I move on.
Kasi the more you put...
Gabi dati, sobrang stressed out ako sa ganyan. Ngayon, hindi na, parang nasabi ko yung totoo, na-share ko yung information, I have done my part.
May mga comments bang against you as a person?
Yung hindi ko na sila matandaan lahat, but there was one na natatandaan ko just because my wife reminds me of it constantly, is that, Kuya, tumataba ka. So ayun lang, tinatawanan lang namin mag-asawa hanggang ngayon.
Well, nakakakain na.
Oo. Doon sa nag-comment, Kuya, 1 meal a day na lang ako.
Oh my. How do you plan to increase your followers for Kwentong Filipino?
By telling the story of Filipinos. Just yung authentic na raw storytelling. And actually, the more that I think about it now, the reason why Kwentong Filipino is attractive to me, and I hope it's attractive to my audience, is because it's authentic. Once I throw the question, how you answer that question is up to you. Wala akong control dun sa guest ko, however they will answer. Yun yung nag-resonate din sa akin as a journalist who believes so much in the truth and in the stories of others. Kasi my grandma taught me that, believe in the kindness of others. That's what I carry every time with each and every Kwentong Filipino, na I want to give every Filipino a voice na hindi lang yung mga success stories. Even yung underreported, like for example, at that time, ang alam ko, it was the Egyptian lady who created it. So, when I saw tags saying it's not, I googled it, and there's only one report saying Chef Noel Catis. It was from Arab News. And siguro naging self-righteous din ako na parang, teka lang, if this Filipino chef made this, bakit wala siyang nakukuhang recognition? Mali naman yun. I shot with him. Malapit lang siya doon sa Emirates Towers and I told him, Chef, there's only one way that we're gonna start this video. Sasabihin ko, try na Dubai chocolate because that's what everyone is doing now. And then you jump in, interrupt me mid-sentence and say, you made this. Yun lang. Take ownership of it. And yun, the video blew up. Until now, I'm really happy that Chef Noel is out there promoting Filipino food and getting the recognition that he so deserves. Kasi talent like that only comes in a lifetime. And if I don't do my job to showcase that kind of talent, well, what am I doing?
All right. And it makes that's why I have so much respect sa ginagawa mo kasi it's not just content creation na mediocre. You're not just promoting but the 50% buffet sa ganito. Nothing against it. It's just wala na siyang value after the 50% is done. Pero this one, you're really pushing not just stories, but pushing the Filipino talent at the forefront. Nagkakaroon ng ano feeling?
Wow. I would say na the Kwentong Pilipino is I made Kwentong Pilipino because I was exposed so much to all these stories. And that is a true story because after 4 years of interviewing Filipinos who have a business, no matter how big or small, even a shawarma stand, na subconsciously, I told myself na, teka lang, if kaya nila, kaya ko din. And that spurred me on, and that's the reason why Kwentong Pilipino exists. It's a thank you to every single person that I've interviewed and will interview in the future na you literally inspired me to get out of employment and do this.
Yes. Have you met any other content creators na may something
Yes.
may ginagawa na?
Yes, resoundingly yes. Only one person comes to mind, si Boy Dubai. Ayon Gonzaga. And kasi I love him kasi he's very unorthodox. And in his own words, he talks about the uncomfortable topics for Filipinos. And I love that kasi Filipinos have to have this look in the mirror moment. Na parang, yun nga, culturally we're very passionate but culturally we're also very shy. So Boy Dubai challenges that notion na parang, you don't need to be shy, you need to be front and center out there. Kailangan iwagayway mo yung pagiging Filipino-ness mo. Don't be like, kasi po ganito, kasi po ganyan. No. You're Filipino, you're you. Oo.
Walang alibay.
Tsaka china-challenge din niya yung mga natin, yung mga stereotypical cultural norms about like yung about finances for example. So that way.
And
Boy Dubai.
Any other up and coming content creators that we should look out for?
That's a good question. It's mostly businesses, pero Chicha ko is good, si Chi and si Cha, because they're not just selling a product, they're selling a story. They make pastries for living cakes and all, pero may kwento. They let people into their lives as entrepreneurs, and they're young. So it's very, very relatable, and marunong sila. They know how to tell, they know how to craft and to tell a story. So that's why.
So storytelling talaga is
Yeah.
no?
Oh, especially now, like, ako naniniwala ako, the story comes first, above everything.
What makes these Filipino stories different from other other content na not maybe Filipinos? O anong mas
What do you mean, like, anong
mas
edge
madrama
natin?
pa tayo? Is it
Mas madama tayo. It really appeals to yung pagiging Filipino natin na mahilig tayo sa drama. We are a generation who grew up in GMA drama sa hapon mula sa puso. I was one. I grew up watching Pangako Sa'yo. We live and thrive for the drama just because that's the environment that we grew up in. We root for the underdog because that's where we grew up in. Manny Pacquiao was an underdog.
if there's anything that you've learned from years of creating content na hindi mo nagagawin ngayon dahil para mampadali, ano natipilan mo?
Make sure na yung i-guest mo has all the right permission, na pinayagan siya ng boss niya na mag-video sa'yo. It didn't happen to me. There was this colleague of mine, so he interviewed someone. Turns out the guy did not have permission from his manager to be on screen. The guy lost his job. So that's why I always make sure that whoever, especially sa mga hotels and sa mga more luxurious places like golf courses or whatnot, I make sure na, Kuya, nagpaalam ka ba? Kasi I want to tell their story 100%. Like for example, I still want to tell the story of an Emirates cabin crew, but the layers and layers and layers of permissions, yeah, I have to go through that. Yun yung challenge and yun yung ma-appreciate ng mga tao. But of course, I have to make sure. Kasi there are a lot of Filipino EK cabin crews. There are a lot of Filipinos in like luxury hotels. But I have to make sure na in the clear sila, because I don't want them to
Mag-jeopardize yung...
to ma-jeopardize yung career nila, mawalan sila ng trabaho because of what I'm doing.
Let's go to our next segment, which is hot takes. Dahil may hot...
May mga hotcakes na lang.
Itom na. Hindi. Hot takes kasi may hot. So, kita pa ba?
Ay, may hot ba?
Dilim na eh.
Uy, yay!
Yeah.
I love hats. Okay, Yala, thank you. I'm gonna add this to my rotation.
Being a Filipino creative in the UAE is harder, not because of opportunities, but because of mindset.
Yes. Mahiyain tayo eh. Some of us think that our art is not good enough, and some of us think that our art is good enough. So our job is to go to that other side, to cross over, and to demand what we are worth of. Kasi yun yung nangyayari, nahihiya tayo. Like even I myself, I'm guilty of that, na nahihiya akong mag-charge ng malaki because I think, hindi kaya ng budget nito, get. No, you have to fight for that.
Storytelling content will outlast trendy content.
Yes. I mean, look at the newspaper. The newspaper tells stories. Ngayon, ang labanan is the impeccable story. Trends will come and go, like yung super duper 5170, whatever dimension of that will die down, but the story of someone will live on.
Not all content creators are storytellers, and not all storytellers should be content creators.
Agree with the first, disagree with the last. Kung set ka na in your ways na storyteller ka and you have established your medium na pa, yung medium of communication mo na, okay, I want to write books, fine. Kasi some creatives have made peace with the fact na, okay, I'm fine without social media, and that's fine. That's your belief, that's your worldview. Ako, I speak from the lens na parang, this is my way of conveying a story. So yeah.
As a storyteller, ikaw, do you still have plans of pursuing beyond digital content?
Yes, pero napakalayo pa. I mean, I would still want to write my own book.
Yeah. The Filipino community in the UAE is ready for deeper stories. We're just not giving them enough.
We have a lot of deep stories. We just need to introduce more of them to the world, and that is happening right now. I think now we're at the cusp of yung maging mainstream yung mga Filipinos lore like hell. I mean, Quezon is a tour de force. That deserves to be seen by everyone. I think ngayon mas mindful na yung mga Filipinos of the arts now than they were before.
Kasi mas accessible.
Exactly, yeah.
For content creation can be a real career in the UAE, but only if you treat it like one.
Yes. There are creators, and I respect them, and that's also the route that I'm going, is that creator ka pero you have a day job, that's fine if you can manage your time. Pwede ka pa rin maging creator full-time if ang goal mo talaga is yung mag-business. But if your goal is just to keep it on the side as a side hustle, then yeah, so there are opportunities for you to do it full-time and to do it half-time.
Kung di half lang.
Oh.
Filipino creatives abroad need to stop waiting for validation from brands.
Validation from brands in what sense?
Collab. So you're only a successful content creator if you start getting...
If you start a brand deal. Kasi that's the eventual finish line of Filipino content creators na magkaroon ng brand deal. Otherwise, it's just someone posting online. Ngayon, kasi syempre you have to justify in my opinion, you have to justify it in your head whether this is still worth doing. So for me, gusto kong magka-brand deal because I see this as as a business and also a passion project. So I mean, it starts from that. It all boils down to how you perceive content creation.
There's no such thing as oversharing, just poorly told stories.
No, I would agree with that. Ako naman kasi may times talaga na yung, I go offline cold turkey. Post lang ako ng vague na Instagram story tapos pang mapapagod ka. So it's a mental reset. There are poorly told stories. I mean, that's the reason we have controversies.
I think there's a lot. Dun nasasayang na. Filipino writers are undervalued not because the industry is small but because we haven't shown our collective power yet.
I would disagree kasi sa Pilipinas we have a lot of good writers.
Writers
Writers are powerful in their own right. It's just that dito, yun nga, konti lang. It's a very niche industry. If we want to be recognized, there has to be more of us.
come in a collective, not just as a writer but be part of the bigger.
And not just become part of the bigger Filipino community, but be part of the global community. Kasi yun ang nangyayari dito sa Dubai is that you're a Filipino, so you stay in your Filipino circle. So and that is true for every single expat community. Indians stay with Indians, Russians stay with Russians. So Filipinos stay with Filipinos, and I disagree with that. I never saw the logic in that. Na parang why not challenge yourself? Nervyusin ka, mahirapan kang mag-English, and see what you want to see because nagta-travel ka nga sa ibang bansa. So and this is technically ibang bansa, so we're trying to meet people who have a different worldview than you.
Pero paano yun? And you also mentioned assimilation. What would you tell people na natatakot or nahihiya pa to, put themselves up?
Because I also struggle with that. My English was not good enough for say when I'm encountering saying a native English speaker. And I think it was one of my friends who told me that if the person you're talking to responds in a way na naintindihan ka niya, then you have done your part. It doesn't matter if your English is busted or what. It's how you speak it, actually. It's kasi with Filipinos, it's like, is this grammatically correct? Pero even Americans are not grammatically correct. So it all boils down to how you deliver it. Kung nag-deliver ka in such a way na confident ka, nobody will bat an eye. Really.
Nobody cares, really.
Yeah, nobody cares. The worst thing that could happen is someone will just say, interesting. Yeah, that's it.
Really against the nosebleed cultures.
Oh, yeah.
Na yung expression na, although it was a joke at first, pero naging excuse siya to, put yourself out.
Now there's still some anti-intellectualism sa atin, which is, I really hope that ends. It really irks me that we associate English with being social. No. Please, no. Parang English is just a means of communication. I mean, naniniwala ko everybody should learn it. It's not just social, it's how you conduct business.
Yeah. I think kasi English is equals to education.
Yeah. True. I agree with you, yeah.
Okay. So if there is someone in UAE like me who wants to start with with content creation, what would your advice be?
Mag-lunch break ka. Yeah, seriously, have lunch, because have lunch, drink a coffee, go for a walk. The idea for what you wanna do on social media will come. That's how I started with mine. Na parang I was bored and I just put myself in the shoes of a different bored person na browsing on their phone. That's advice number 1. Advice number 2 is find your voice. And that's something that I learned from Nerissa Guevara from USD. Na if you're telling a story, it has to be something that you have experienced yourself. If you did not experience that, it is not your story. You have no right to tell it. So, yun din yung ginagawa sa Kwentong Pilipino na parang namanasan ko din yun. Na-stuck din ako sa metro. Na I slept on a couch. I mean, it was my parents' couch. Pero my parents were kind enough to show me the lives of all the Filipinos because of our friends and in their network. Tell the story that you know. Huwag kang mahiya. Don't think na parang nanggaling ako sa Pilipinas, so bakit ako papakinggan ng buong mundo? No. That's exactly the reason why papakinggan ka ng buong mundo. So do not be ashamed of your voice. Yeah.
What's the greatest Filipino story ever?
That's also a question for me. Kasi ako when I did the street interviews with Emirates Labs, I had this yung tinutubing kong holy trinity of street interviews. Yun yung isa sa mga key goals of the page is that I have to make these 3. And they're all 3 different videos with 3 equally different challenges. I've only achieved 1. The first street interview is someone who has a villa here, someone who bought. So I've done that. So yun yung huli kong, one of my last videos with Emirates Labs. And then the second video is someone who works in Emirates. Kasi ako, when I was new in Dubai, and I saw someone in an Emirates uniform, I realized this is a very powerful symbol. No explanation, if you see a Filipino in an Emirates uniform, you immediately associate them with success. Gusto kong makwento yung storya nila because of the prestige and the potency of that symbol. Na, yun nga lang, the challenge of that is yung Herculean levels of permits that you have to. Because it's a corporation, and who am I to them? Third person is stereotypically someone who drives a supercar, Ferrari or Lamborghini. Because when I was back in the Philippines and my dad gave me a book about Dubai, the images of Dubai that were conjured in my head were Burj Khalifa, maraming supercar, Emirates Airlines. So, if there's a Filipino who has that kind of car, living the dream. And yun, no explanation. Everybody knows what a Ferrari is. That speaks of a level of success that's unheard of. I mean, we tried it before with Emirates Labs na may car garage, but then it was a cheap shot kasi yung Ferrari is client niya lang. Pero I figured, you know what the hell? Since nasa iyo naman yung susi, gawin na din natin yung hook. Pero I still keep that dream in me na parang kailangan ko I need to find someone who has it. Just to bring it all home, the greatest Filipino story ever told is honestly, I do not know yet, because each and every story is unique in their own light. It's hard for me to pick a favorite child when everyone is my favorite. If you will ask me what are the elements of a great Filipino story, is that number 1, it's authentic. Number 2, it doesn't editorialize. Like for example, hindi ka nag-i-impede dun sa way ng tao magsalita. Like I always say to my guests, speak in the language that you're comfortable with. If you want to say Bisaya, go. If you want to say Chinese, by all means, let me worry about it later. So yeah, it's comfortable, it's authentic, and it's most importantly, how do I round it up? It's something that will make that guest proud, which speaks back to my philosophy that all storytelling is based on it.
Last question. You asked me, so what's up? What does it mean to be a Filipino creator? At least babato ka kayo.
Oh nga, no? What does it mean to be a Filipino creative?
In
Wait,
Dubai.
in Dubai, yeah. Okay, in Dubai, in the UAE, so that means being able to put yourself in circles and situations that are not necessarily just Filipinos, but everybody. Being able to stand in confidence na you're a Filipino in a sea of different strangers from like 50 odd countries, that's something. So being a Philippine creative is being that one Filipino in a sea of diversity, and being proud that you are a Filipino in that scene.
Thank you so much.
Ah.
Let's close.
Ano naman?
Thank you for reminding us that storytelling, whether written or filmed, is a powerful tool for preserving who we are as Filipinos abroad. Your journey shows that creativity doesn't need permission.
Thank you po. Thank you for your time. Yeah. And thank you for the hat. I really love it. I really love it.
Mga pangarap na sumisiklab, abot kamay at abot silangan. Mula sa black, pula't itim, tila buhay na sining, tayo'y may tinig. Hindi